In front of us, we have the Adidas Crazy Energy PE. Your PE, how excited are you to get your own PE?
I love it. I think that just speaks volumes of what Adidas is doing for the female side of sport. And so this colorway is fun. It's me. It's bright. It's spunky, a little feisty. Some cute little waves here. We have a family tattoo, so I wanted to put those on there. Giddy up, clearly. I'm a little country, so have to throw that one in there. But no, I'm just so stoked that they chose me to, be a part of this.
Saw your faces inside.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
One over here. The point wasn't really a thing before we made these, and so I just kind of did a little cowgirl theme. My country roots, and so you get your pair, look inside in the soles. We're at Hibbett. What I've heard, this is a pretty brand new store, and so it's super exciting. There's a huge line of people out here. Maybe sell some shoes a little bit, but I'm just so blessed and happy that these are finally out.
Who is one athlete you want to see wearing your PEs?
I have to shout out Aaliyah Boston. She's going to be in the All-Star game. She's an absolute beast. And so I think her rocking these would be pretty fun.
We need to talk about two things happening simultaneously in the WNBA right now because they exist at completely opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. And together they tell the complete story of where this league stands at this specific and critical moment in its history. Documented weight to make it impossible to dismiss or defer. Let us start with Sophie Cunningham. Because this story deserves its full moment before the heavier conversation takes over, Sophie Cunningham's Adidas player-exclusive sneaker sold out completely. By 10 in the morning Eastern Standard Time on the day of release, both men's and women's sizes were gone, completely gone, sold out across the board before most people had finished their morning coffee. The Adidas Crazy Energy colorway she released, the one with the pink to white gradient, the light blue mesh panels, the orange midsole accents, the design that looks exactly like how she plays every single night, flew off digital shelves at a pace that reflects genuine, organic, market-driven commercial momentum. Let that sink in. Not a trickle of sales followed by a slow sellout over days or weeks. Gone. By 10 in the morning. To understand what this means, you have to understand the foundation underneath it. Sophie Cunningham did not build her commercial moment through a marketing budget. She built it through a 22-second act of defiance in an arena in Phoenix, pointing at Dana Bonner until arena staff physically walked her off the court. That clip traveled to corners of the internet that WNBA content almost never reaches organically. And then reports emerged that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had stepped in to advise Engelbert that the suspension needed to happen. Let that settle for a moment. The commissioner of the WNBA required external guidance from the NBA commissioner to reach a disciplinary decision in her own league involving her own players in a situation that was generating national and international media coverage. The independence and decisiveness that institutional leadership requires in a moment of crisis was demonstrably absent. Thomas herself, in the aftermath of the incident, publicly called out Engelbert by name for remaining silent. A player at the center of a controversy that had reached congressional attention felt it necessary to publicly name the commissioner's absence as a contributing factor to how badly the situation was being managed. That is a remarkable and damning indictment of institutional leadership from within the institution itself. And then 2 weeks after the Thomas incident, a group of 11 congressional Republicans sent a formal letter to Engelbert demanding accountability for what they characterized as multiple attacks on Caitlin Clark. 11 elected federal officials, a formal letter to the commissioner of a professional sports league demanding accountability. And Engelbert remained largely publicly absent in her response. A team executive who spoke to reporters captured the institutional frustration in a single quoted sentence. Here we are with all this stuff that has happened, and it is just at different points felt like, where are you? Where are you? That is the institutional verdict expressed in its most human and most direct form. Not a complicated analytical framework about leadership theory or organizational management. Just the simple and devastating question from someone inside the institution who kept looking for visible leadership and kept finding absence. A crisis and reputation management specialist with experience across Major League Baseball, the ATP, WTA, and PGA Tour was quoted in the reporting as well. His assessment was clinical and unsparing. She is in a place now where I do not really know what she does to recover from this. The hole has gotten too deep. When external crisis management professionals are being quoted in sports journalism about whether a sitting commissioner can recover from the depth of her institutional credibility deficit, the clock on that tenure is running in ways that no amount of public optimism from the commissioner herself can stop. Engelbert, when asked about her future directly, deflected. She said she was focused head down on executing the 30th season. She said she loves the league. She expressed optimism about where the league is going. And critically, she did not answer the actual question about whether she would be part of that future. The deflection is itself the answer. A leader who is secure in their institutional standing does not deflect questions about their future. They answer them. The absence of a direct answer is a communication in its own right, and it communicates uncertainty about whether she believes she will remain. The stakeholders have now spoken through the reporting. Owners, executives, players, and industry insiders who represent the full institutional breadth of this league have provided their documented assessment of whether Engelbert's leadership meets the demands of the moment. The commercial transformation brought by Caitlin Clark's arrival, the new broadcasting agreements, the historic CBA, the private jets, and the elevated contracts and the franchise valuations that would have been inconceivable 5 years ago, all of it has raised the institutional stakes to a level that requires a different kind of commissioner than the one who navigated the years of building from nothing. The league has left the building stage. It is now in the managing explosive growth under intense public scrutiny stage. Those are two entirely different institutional challenges. And the stakeholders, with direct knowledge of both what has happened and what needs to happen, have concluded that Engelbert is the right person for the first stage and not the right person for the second. Engelbert's admission at some point that the league was not prepared for Caitlin Clark is itself a disqualifying statement from a leadership perspective. A professional sports commissioner who acknowledges publicly that her institution was unprepared for the arrival of the player who now generates its most significant commercial outcomes is describing her own institutional failure. That is not a forgivable footnote in an otherwise strong record. That is a central fact about her readiness to lead this league through the era that required the preparation she admits was absent. The reporting exists. The stakeholders have spoken. The institutional verdict is documented and public. What remains is a question of timing rather than outcome. The people with the authority to make the decision about Engelbert's future are the owners and the NBA's institutional leadership that oversees the WNBA's broader structure. They have now been handed a public and documented record of stakeholder opinion. The decision they make and the timeline on which they make it will reflect whether they have been paying attention to everything this season has produced or whether they intend to continue managing through the crisis rather than resolving it at the leadership level. Sophie Cunningham's sneaker sold out by 10 in the morning. That is what the commercial potential of this league looks like when the right people are empowered and the market is allowed to respond to authentic moments with authentic enthusiasm. Cathy Engelbert is navigating the darkest period of her tenure with more than 20 stakeholders on the record about her institutional limitations. That is what a leadership reckoning looks like when the accumulated evidence of inadequate response to institutional challenges finally reaches the threshold of formal public documentation. Both stories are true simultaneously. Both reflect where this league stands right now. One points toward what the future can be. The other raises the urgent and documented question of whether the leadership structure currently in place is equipped to take this institution there. The answers to that question are being written in real time, and the people with the authority to finalize those answers have now been handed everything they need to make the right decision. The shoe sold out by 10. The clock is running on everything else.